Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll have another installment of our food series sponsored by the North Dakota Humanities Council. But first up, we have our guest is North Dakota real estate agent and owner of Pfeiffer's, Kevin Pfeiffer. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us today. You're here to talk about land issues around the state, and I say you're a real estate agent and land auctioneer.
Yes, thanks for having me today.
As we get started, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're originally from.
Well, I grew up in on the western edge of the Red River Valley near Larimore, North Dakota, just west of Grand Forks, and spent almost my entire life here. Out of college, when I left the University of North Dakota, I worked at the North Dakota Department of Agriculture for 5 years, and then at the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. for a year. But ever since then, I've spent my entire life and devoted it to agriculture.
Okay. Well, now, so how did you get into real estate?
Well, you know, I've always had an interest in real estate. I think I bought my first quarter of land from my father and my grandfather back in the early 80s, right before the farm crisis hit in the 80s. And but about 11 years ago, around 2000, my older brother Pete and I decided to start our own auction and real estate company because we had a great affinity for the business.
Okay. Now, you said you were Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture in North Dakota. Can you talk about your time there and what all that involved?
Yeah, that was an interesting time, obviously. I spent 5 years from 1983 to 1988 with the North Dakota Department of Agriculture, and my last year and a half as Deputy Commissioner. And it was a very challenging time for everybody who was involved in production agriculture at that time, and obviously etched in my memory, you know, the challenges not only from a professional level but a personal level, having dealt with a lot of issues and family issues, struggling to make it work on the farm, and in my capacity with the North Dakota Department of Agriculture, working with a lot of farmers who were having a difficult time. And it was tough back then. It was a whole different situation than we have today.
I'm sure it was. Now, your company handles, you know, land and real estate sales all over the region. No pun intended. How much ground do you cover?
Well, that's interesting. We, you know, our trade area basically is from Montana to Madison, Wisconsin, and then we also get into southern Minnesota and also into South Dakota. We sell on an average about 50,000 acres a year, and our staff currently manages around 40,000 acres of farmland. We manage close to 60 farms throughout the region right now.
Okay, 50,000 acres a year. Okay, sounds like a lot of land. Talk about some real estate and land issues. A big issue over the last few years has been land acquisition and land rights, especially with the oil in the oil country, I guess. Can you talk about that and what complications that's kind of brought in?
Absolutely. You know, that's been one of the more dynamic issues relating to land, whether you're buying and holding land or wanting to sell land or whatever, and particularly from the Missouri River Basin going west. So from central North Dakota going west, it's become a major issue. Most of the people that actually are in the process of selling land or would like to sell land are going to separate the minerals out, and they're going to segregate them, and they're going to have a reservation on all those minerals, which would include, but actually not even be limited to oil, coal, gas, those types of things, but they might even be reserving the potash rights and those types of things. North Dakota law is pretty specific. If you don't make a reservation of any of those particular minerals in your warranty deed, they actually will transfer to the buyer. So a strong trend right now is that, and we see this frequently, about 95% of the sellers are actually separating the minerals out from the land when they do sell the property.
I see ads sometimes that talk about selling the rights that are still owned. Does a seller always know what mineral rights they still have?
Usually they do not. They know they own some, but they don't know what percent. So that involves another process, basically going out and doing a mineral search. So you either need to have an abstract and title company go out and do that, have an attorney do it, or right now there's landmen all over western North Dakota doing title searches. And unfortunately that process can be rather expensive right now too, because there's such a demand for that type of work. But a landowner, if they are looking at reserving those minerals or even selling a portion of them with it, they really should do the due diligence and try and figure out how much they actually do own.
Yeah. Now, you read in the paper or you hear anecdotally that, people are becoming millionaires out in the western part of North Dakota for selling their land with the oil rights. Now, how does that work? And
well, landowners may not be becoming millionaires overnight, but mineral right owners might be. So they might be one and the same. They might not be one and the same. So, I would say in many cases, the landowner is going to own a degree of the mineral rights. They may only own a fifth of them or a fourth of them, whatever it might be. But certainly the mineral right owner is in a pretty strong position right now, because the mineral right owner is going to be able to lease the land to an oil and gas company or a broker that's putting together a package for an oil company to consider. Subsequent to that, they're also then going to be able to sell the mineral rights or the royalties to that. So they're going to get a lease payment from the gas company, and then they're also going to get a royalty payment. And those royalty payments today now are probably stronger than they've ever been. Traditionally, they've been in that 12.5%, but now it's pretty common to see them in that 18 to 21%. And that's just for the royalty payment. So before that, you now have the lease payment, which is a dollar amount per acre. And that's usually termed out over a couple of 2-3 year period with actually a renewal clause built in as well. So you actually have the landowner, if he or she does have the mineral rights, they're in a pretty strong position. If they don't, the mineral owners, if they're separate from that, they certainly are probably experiencing pretty good financial times.
Okay. Ignorant question. You own some land, you sell it to me, but you retain the mineral rights. Somebody comes and wants to dig on my land. How do you work out that deal?
Well, there are remuneration rights in the North Dakota statute for the landowner. You aren't going to be able to participate in the revenue from the oil, but if there's any damages done, if they have to, when they always do, build a road out to the oil well or whatever it might be, there would be some remuneration consideration for the landowner, and my experience has been it's normally very fair for the landowner.
Okay. I know there's probably a major housing shortage out in the Williston area. Can you talk about this? And of course, is there property being built as we speak, or what's going on out there?
It is a major issue for North Dakota, and I'm not necessarily convinced it caught everybody off guard. The growth and the rapid growth of this particular energy growth out there has really caused an awful lot of pain in the housing market right now. The issue of man camps, our firm, we recently sold an old schoolhouse between Belfield and Medora to a company from the south, actually, that wanted to buy the schoolhouse and turn it into a man camp. And you're seeing a lot of that type of activity. But certainly, I think the housing crisis has become a major issue, not only for individuals, but also for the companies out there that want to recruit people and bring them up here to work.
Sure. North Dakota, about the mortgage, it seems like we didn't have the mortgage meltdown that some of the other areas had in the country back in 2008, 2009. Do you agree with that, and can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that, and I think it's attributed to a couple of different things. Number one is I think our lending community up here, for the most part, was on top of it, and they were looking at income statements that were actually and not implied necessarily. So they were doing a very, very good job with it. I think our lending community generally has been very conservative. We've always had a steady economy up here. We don't necessarily live in bubbles when it comes to economic issues here. But I think by and large, not only the consumers but the lenders kept a very good handle on this, and I think that prevented probably a lot of issues up in this part of the country.
Now, I know you don't deal directly in this, but as much. But how are home sales right now, say in the urban areas, the Grand Forks, the Bismarcks, the Fargo areas? Yeah,
in the Red River Valley, I've been told is that they're very steady right now. Obviously, from Bismarck, Minot West, that's rather robust right now. But here in the Red River Valley, they seem to be holding their own. Doesn't really seem to be a softening of the market, but just a rather steady market at this point.
And did homes here have a decrease in their values? I mean, or did home values hold pretty steady?
I think for the most part they held pretty steady. Some of your higher end homes may have dipped a little bit, but I think the average mortgage on a home in the Fargo market's somewhere in that $165,000, $170,000 range. And in fact, I think last year Dickinson and Williston had higher home prices per home than Fargo did, which is really unusual for that to happen in this particular part of the country, that you would have the largest city all of a sudden having inferior home values compared to some of your smaller cities. But for the most part, I think they're in this market, they're holding their own.
Well, I assume supply and demand is what's happening out west at
Absolutely.
this point. And,
yeah.
you know, what are, just real quick, what are some factors homeowners should consider a little bit? I know the biggest mistake probably a person can make is getting into a house they really can't afford.
Right. You know, absolutely. You know, you want to get into that you can afford, that's affordable to you, that you know you're going to have adequate cash flow for other things as well. And in this environment here, with interest rates at basically all-time lows, whether it's a 15 or a 30-year mortgage, it certainly is a good time to buy a home. I think in any of our markets, except for in some of the western cities, obviously, but in this in the Red River Valley, I think it deserves a lot of serious consideration. You're looking at either moving up or whatever it might be in your housing situation.
Yeah. Now, of course, you're heavily involved in auctions. Can you tell us about this aspect of the business and what kinds of auctions you really deal with?
Absolutely. Most of our auctions, you know, we conduct around 70, 80 farmland auctions a year. Some of it involves hunting land, but a majority it is farmland. And it's become a very robust business in this part of the country. A lot of landowners now are understanding that in a strong, confident land market, the best way to sell land is through an auction. It's not a whole lot unlike let's take the Arizona market in 05, 6, 7. A lot of realtors and homeowners, they were putting their homes on the market down there. They'd put it on the market at $300,000 at 9 in the morning, and by noon they'd have an offer for $325,000. Well, that was a strong up market. It was a very confident market. Mm-hmm. And in many instances, we're seeing a lot of that in farmland right now. I actually argue that farmland is actually trading somewhat like a small cap stock right now because you're seeing such increases in it. And the Federal Reserve said that from the third quarter of 2010 through the third quarter of 11, farmland values in North Dakota went up 26%. And that's overall throughout the whole state. Some counties probably went up 40 or 50% in that 12-month time frame.
So you're saying auctions are almost the way to sell?
I always say that, hey, if there's something that a lot of people want, that's what you want to bring to an auction. You don't want to sell something that most people don't want. And most people think the other way. Well, if I can't sell it, I'll auction it. Our theory is the best thing to sell at an auction are things that a lot of people want, because then you're not going to leave any money on the table. You know you're going to get the highest price for what you own.
Now, you're also involved in farmland management, I believe you mentioned. What all does that entail?
Well, basically what Pfeiffer's does with the farmland management process is we work with landowners, whether they're retired farmers or widows or investors, and basically they treat it like an investment. And you know, a lot of them recognize that they're not up to speed on commodity prices, farmland cash rent values, whatever those should be. So they look for a firm like ours to go out and manage the land, where we can go out and secure a relationship with the tenant and put the cash rent valuation in place that may be more in line with market valuations, or if they want to share crop it or whatever. And a lot of people are treating it more like an investment. Just like if you have stocks and bonds, you're going to hire somebody in the stock market business, stockbroker, whoever it might be. So in the farmland management business, a lot of times people are going to turn to a farmland manager to get their better returns.
Now, what are the pros and cons of owning farmland and say near a metro area, Fargo or Grand Forks, and a developer wants to develop it? You know, obviously you can make money by selling it, but maybe you don't want to sell it. So,
well, that's interesting. You know, a couple of different situations in there. Obviously, if you're really close proximity to an area like Fargo or Grand Forks or Bismarck, and the government wants it, whether it's for a diversion or whatever it might be, then you have eminent domain issues. You don't really have a choice. If it is a developer, obviously you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be able to negotiate whatever price. The biggest concern a lot of times to a seller is not only, what am I going to get for the land, but then what's my capital gain situation going to be? I'm going to have to pay a capital gain tax on that property. And a lot of times what a seller will do is they're going to recognize that up front, because right now we're at 15% capital gains for the federal tax rate. And then on the state and North Dakota, you're going to be about at that 3 or 4%. So you're almost at 20% capital gains. So you buy land for a couple $1,000s an acre, and now you're going to sell it by square foot to a developer. You do have a capital gain issue there. So the seller will look into the future probably about 180 days, because if they want to pay the tax, they go to pay the tax. If they don't want to pay the tax, if they want to defer it, they can go into a 1031 tax exchange. And they can defer that tax, 100% of it. And the IRS has laid out guidelines on how you can do that. And you see a lot of sellers of land, whether it's farmland or land like this, close proximity to a large urban area, you'll see them doing a lot of 1031 tax exchanges into other properties.
Now, how do you go about pricing and evaluating land values?
In a strong market like this, that's really dynamic and very confident, it becomes a challenge to price it out. It really does. That's why, as an auctioneer or a realtor, I like to sell it by an auction, because I know the auction's going to set the market that day. It really will. And the seller really has very little risk, if any risk at all, selling it at an auction. Now, backing up a step, how do you value it if the seller wanted to list it for sale through just a regular listing with a real estate agent, or put it on the market and sell it to his tenant or whatever? Usually, basically what I do is I'll take the gross income off of that farm, take the gross farm income. And basically, as a landowner, if you aren't participating in any of the sharecropping or anything, your only expense is your property taxes. So you have your gross income minus your property taxes, and that'll give you your net income. And usually I divide that by 5%. So you divide that net income by 0.05%. That gives you a pretty good range, or at least a medium range of where you should be. Now, you can use 4 or you can use 6, so now you have a low and a high of where you should be. Most farmland being sold in the market today, unlike maybe a year or 2 years ago, is selling for around 4%. So and that's why we're seeing these higher land values. And the strongest buyer in the market today is probably the farmer investor, because he can pay more for it because he's going to get more off of it.
Yeah. Okay. I understand you may also have sales and acquisition of lake properties. Can you talk about what the values are and what's going on with that?
You know, the lake property has become a rather steady market as well. You know, prior to 2008, you know, that market just seemed like it just didn't have any end on the top end. It just kept going up and up and up. But again, it's the higher end homes that may have experienced they're on the market longer. Maybe even some of your medium-priced homes are on the market a little bit longer than most sellers would like to have. But for the most part, I would say that's a pretty steady market, with the high end, again, being softer and homes just staying on the market a little bit longer.
Sure. You mentioned hunting land. What about hunting land for sale? I understand you deal with this, but I guess there are more complicated issues with that in this state, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the hunting land inventory in North Dakota is way down. There's not as much hunting land on the market right now as there used to be. And if you want to look at hunting land in North Dakota, the land that's in most demand right now is good pheasant hunting land. After that, it's good deer hunting land, and then after that, it'd be waterfowl hunting. There probably is more waterfowl hunting land on the market today than any of the other two. The challenge with the good pheasant hunting land is in southwestern North Dakota is that a lot of that land is being converted out of CRP into cropland. And we've seen land auctions out there through our company. We've seen land prices go as high as $1,500, $1,600 an acre for cropland. Those were Red River Valley farmland prices 6-7 years ago. So we have seen an entire switch of land prices go all the way from maybe $500, $600 an acre in western North Dakota, triple to almost $1,500, $1,600 an acre. So that puts a lot of pressure on that wildlife habitat land out there from being converted from CRP land into production agriculture again.
Is that partly because landowners are seeing an opportunity to make money off of hunting land? And do you negotiate for landowners for hunting land who want to charge hunters to hunt on their land?
You know, there is some land leasing or some hunting leases taking place out there. You don't see an awful lot of it, but you do see some of it out there. I think the main reason we're seeing this conversion from CRP or good hunting land into production agriculture is the fact that the commodity prices are driving all of it right now. The landowner can make more by having this land in production agriculture than he or she can have it in CRP for good hunting.
Sure. Well, Kevin, I wish we had a little more time. It's an interesting subject, but if people want more information about this kind of thing, where can they go? Who can they contact?
Go onto our website at Pifers. It's www.pifers.com, or they can call us toll free, 877-700-4099. And we have 15 agents and auctioneers throughout the region that can help them if they desire.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more. Do people want to eat foods grown by people they know using local resources? What is a CSA? We'll explore those questions and more in a segment entitled Entrepreneurial Spirit from the Prairie Public North Dakota Humanities Council project, Key Ingredients.
There's a hunger on the part of consumers for food that's produced by folks they know. It also tells me that there is a social desire for consumers to get together with these producers, because one of the cool things about farmers markets is not just about going and buying food. It's about talking to the producer about how the food was raised. It's about celebrating life, and it's about socializing. And it was eye-opening to me as Ag Commissioner to see these sorts of things unfold even in very small towns across North Dakota. I mean, we had maybe 4 or 5 years before I was no longer Ag Commissioner, we maybe had 10 or 12 farmers markets around the state. In just a period of 4 or 5 years, that number moved up to well over 50, close to 60 farmers markets that were established with regular places of doing business, regular hours. That's rapid growth.
3 1/4 on the carrots.
And a lot of young people who want to go into farming now and are going into farming all across the country are very smart. They're not afraid of complexity. And the important thing is that they're really not interested in raising corn and soybeans. They want to raise food for people. So you could begin to see some changes in communities where you have more community people working together to produce more of their own food from their own resources. And that food will be obviously local, and then people will know where it comes from. And you could see a whole new, different kind of community culture evolve out of that.
I left the Bismarck-Mandan area around the age of 20, and I left with a love for farming because I worked here on my uncle's farm. And I met a man who happened to be a farmer as well and have a love for farming, and we decided to start a family.
She had this idea, hey, there's this family land and it's not really being used by the family right now. Maybe we could lease it, and so here we are.
I was hoping there might be some strawberries.
You know what? There's only a million billion. Do you want a bag? CSAs are really wonderful, and in my opinion, they are the perfect marriage between consumers and farmers.
But here's some pimentos.
I took your advice last time, and like you said, just eat them raw.
Yeah.
They are. It's like candy.
Isn't it amazing?
CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. Here at Riverbound Farm, our CSA members get to come out to the farm once a week for 17 weeks, which is as long as our summer season was, mid-June through mid-October, and pick up whatever they want that's available for that week. And they can also do pick your own things. And one of the great things about CSAs is share the bounty, share the risk.
As soon as we got here, there was like a whole group of people who were like, hey, we're so glad you're here. You know, we've been waiting for this. And so that's been nice. And that, I mean, that's why North Dakota is a good place, I guess, for us. Also, North Dakota is an agricultural state, and there's a lot of people here who grew up on farms and now live in some sort of urban or suburban setting, and so are sort of separated from that, and they crave it.
A small farmer who's marketing their goods through a CSA helps ensure themselves a customer base for the entire season. And as a consumer, you're ensuring yourself local, fresh, high quality food raised right here in your community by your neighbor. you're keeping your money in the community, and you're ensuring your neighbor a good living. You can go out to the farm, you can shake hands with the farmer, and you can be a part of that. And that's something that we are really trying to develop here at Riverbound Farm. We are inviting our members to be a part of the farm.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
North Dakota has a rural heritage. It's a rural state and there's a lot of farmers. And North Dakota farmers are doing a great job feeding the entire world. And it's something that we should really be proud of. Something that I think is out of balance is the small farmers in our communities. We can also do a really great job feeding ourselves and having our members of our state have access to farms again and get reacquainted with our food and where it comes from and feed ourselves again.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funded in part by the North Dakota Humanities Council, a nonprofit, independent state partner of the National Endowment for the Humanities, and by the members of Prairie Public.